Pyrus is a very evil Bakugan, belonging to the evil King Genoheld. Where is that stupid baby accent?
What's up everyone, it's your boy Floz MG back with another episode of Tier Up, and this time I am ranking the new Vestroia Bakugan. In a previous episode of Tier Up, I ranked the Battle Brawlers Bakugan. I got some pretty good feedback, so I thought, hey, why not go to the next series with the new Vestroia Bakugan? I thought I'd go in chronological order. Maybe do the Gundalian Invaders Bakugan next? Let me know if that's what you want to see. But for now, let's get right into it. Before this video starts, I just want to say that only a small percentage of people who watch my videos are actually subscribed. So if you like this video and want to see more like it, hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost anything, and you can always change your mind in the future. Now back to the video. The rankings for this video are as follows: God Tier, Battle Brawler Resistance, Worthy Bakugan, Vexo Scum, and Cancelled. And because there's so many Bakugan, there's like probably 40 that I need to rank. I'm gonna try and get through this as fast as I can. Starting off with Abyss Omega. You only ever see him in Aquos, you only ever see him in one goddamn episode. And because of that, he would originally be a cancelled boy, but I actually really like the way this guy looks. Plus, he actually has a little bit of a speaking role, so I'm gonna put it in Vexo Scum. One right above Cancelled. Oh, I should also mention that I am not including the Bakugan traps or anything like that. Those are excluded. Those might be their own video if you want me to do them that way. Next up, we have the first mechanical Bakugan introduced in the series, Ventus Altair. The mechanical Bakugan were weapons designed by the Vexos in order to gain power over new Vestroia. This one somehow has the actual Ventus attribute. I don't know how they have actual Bakugan attributes, they just do. But either way, Altair was one of my favorite of the mechanical Bakugan. Like, I actually had some favorite mechanical Bakugan, even though they really weren't really good guys. Plus, he had some pretty cool abilities, and being the first of his kind, I don't want to put him up in God Tier just yet. I'm going to put him at the very beginning of the Battle Brawler Resistance. The Battle Brawler episode Resistance. Next up, we have the second Ventus mechanical Bakugan that they created in a very similar look to Altair, Ventus Aluz. Aluz is a much sort of, he's not really that different. His wings were replaced with these two very slick trapezoidal parts. The eyes changed from one solid thing to like 3 individual lines on each side. Those are like some of the main differences. I can't see any more key differences. And like at first when they switched over to Aluz, I didn't even notice that they switched over to Aluz. It's still a pretty good Bakugan to me, and I actually put it on par with Altair. You know, I actually am going to do that. To me, it is on par with Altair. Next up, we have Anchorsaur. This is an interesting one. To describe how he looks, a sort of Gladiator Barney on steroids, and that's this Bakugan. Anchorsaur has an antithesis Bakugan, Hammersaur, which we'll get into in a moment. He's sort of a much more defensive Bakugan in a sense. He only appears in a couple episodes, not that many attributes, but the fact he is a reappearing Bakugan is enough for me to put him up in Worthy Bakugan. That's it. Next up, we have Darkest Achabi, which I'm pretty sure only appeared ever once in the series and never to be seen again. It didn't really leave an impact on me. It wasn't really that interesting. Sorry, that's a cancelled boy. Next up we have Atmos. This one I do believe we see in a couple attributes. I forget which ones, but at least it's more than one attribute. It didn't catch my eyes as much as the other type of reappearing Bakugan and other attributes, but all the same, it's definitely not as bad as Achabi. A little bit less than Abyss Omega. Next up, we have the Helios mechanical Bakugan. Helios Boreades. It's sort of like, picture like a robot samurai. And that's what this fucker is. I will say, out of the mechanical Bakugan, Boraides was definitely in my top 5. I don't know why. I just liked it for some reason. And also, a lot of Boraides' abilities is sort of like named after, I believe it's Greek mythology. Yeah, it is, because it has like a Prometheus cannon, which fusion ability, Olympus cannon, Greek mythology. Duh. Boraides is one of my favorite, but at the same time, it's still not a god tier. It's right there on par with Illusion Altair. Next up, we have the first Chaos Bakugan of the Vexos, Chaos Brontes, he's a very, I'll say, jokey, clowning sort of Bakugan. You can tell by his freaking face. He's a clown. Literally. He's a very mystical, magical Bakugan who's also able to use a Darkest ability. Well, actually, a couple Darkest abilities, but the main one I know is like Darkest Scythe or something. I was always a fan of Brontes to the point where I almost want to put him in God tier. And you know what? Boy is gonna go in God tier. And next up we have his evolution, Chaos Alto Brontes. It's either Alto Brontes or Chaos Brontes. Either way, the Brontes evolution. Basically, his sort of ear things were pushed up a little bit higher, and oh yeah, he has an extra pair of arms. His magic is increased tenfold, but his evolution was not natural. Brontes was saved by the ex-Vexos Spectra and Gus, who kind of forced him into an evolution with the power of the Forbidden card. Yes, this show is deep. Oh yeah, I should also mention that Boraides and Brontes, the first Brontes, belong to the Vexos Volt. I probably should have mentioned that earlier. I will say the Brontes evolution didn't catch my enjoyment as much as the original Brontes did. But at the same time, I do feel like it's not too bad. It's a good Bakugan. Next up we have Aquos Mechanical, I believe is the name. I could very well be wrong. This one only ever showed up in one episode, never spoke a word, never see it again. And I'd rather not see it ever again. Next up, we got the man boy. We got Dragonoid. We have Neo Dragonoid. This sort of Dragonoid, it's not exactly an evolution from the previous series. It's just a new body that Drago was given when he's separated from the perfect core to become Neo Dragonoid, aka the new Dragonoid. His power is immense. He can tap into the power of the perfect core, and oh my god, you know where Dragonoid has to go. Drago, beginning of God tier forever and always. And not only that, we have his evolution, Pyrus Cross Dragonoid. He evolves after being bestowed the power of the Pyrus energy from the ancient Pyrus soldier Apollinaire to evolve and become Cross Dragonoid, where 1, his Pyrus power became much stronger, and 2, his power of the perfect core became much stronger also. Stronger version? Same tier. Alright, next up we have the Subterra Mechanical Bakugan, Subterra Dryoid. This has to be, I think it's my favorite mechanical Bakugan because of all the memorable abilities it has. Like Yosame Blade, Shoe Dragonfly, Geki Grip Demon, Restu Lightning, Double Caliber, Excel Speed, Knuckle Vulcan, Mars Shield. So many abilities I just named! You see how this one is my favorite. Definitely my favorite. And it's definitely going to go up in God tier. It's a God tier mechanical machine. Next up, we have Marucho's partner Bakugan, Aquos Elfin. Marucho needed to find a partner Bakugan to save his original partner Bakugan Pyrus, so he meets Elfin, who also, like Pyrus, has the ability to change attributes, except she can only change into Ventus and Darkus and Aquos. But still, she got a multitude of abilities to follow it. Elfin, by far one of my favorite partners that Marucho had. I mean, to me, Elfin's got to go to the very beginning of Battle Brawler Resistance. And next up, we have her evolution after being bestowed the Aquos energy. Aquos Minx Elfin. She was bestowed the Aquos energy from the ancient Aquos soldier Floz. So she evolved and got these hair loopy thingies, which I'll say adds sort of appeal. And just a lot of additional shit was added to her. She even got this little wand she waves around. Even so, I think she's still on par with her original form. Aquos Elfin version 2! Alright, next up we have the first evil Aquos Bakugan, Aquos Elico. And Elico, I actually really love the design of Elico. Plus, Elico has the ability to also change attributes, except he can change attributes to Aquos, Subterra, and Helios. Ooh, more variety. Elico was also one of the Bakugan abandoned by the Vexos and saved by Spectra and Gus. But we'll get into that in a minute. As for Elico, Elico is actually one of my favorite of the Vexos Bakugan, so I kind of have to put him... I want to put him up in Battle Brawler Resistance right here. I like that. And next up we have Elico's evolution, Aquos Aqua Blast Elico. The only downside is you only ever see him in one episode, just as you see the evolution of Brontes. But I will say, this was one hell of a battle. That's one hell of a look. And the only downside is you never see the Helios version of Subterra. You never see the Helios version of Aquos Aqua Blast Elico. Is it really that hard to say? It's a really good Bakugan, but the fact that you only see it in one episode makes me want to drop it down. At least I'll put it at the very beginning of worthy Bakugan. It is a worthy Bakugan. Next up we have the Pyrus Mechanical Bakugan, Pyrus. We have Pyrus Phobos. Pyrus Phobos is a very evil Bakugan belonging to the evil King Genoheld. What is that stupid baby accent? Either way, Pyrus Phobos is a mechanical masterpiece, if you will. That's just him alone. That's not even counting his assail formation. And he has a lot of abilities that wouldn't even be considered Pyrus. He's able to do something with ice. That's not Pyrus! Still, Phobos may be a big bad, but I don't like him as much as I do the other mechanical Bakugan. But I still believe he's a decent worthy Bakugan. Now we're going to take a break from the mechanical Bakugan and the main Bakugan and go to Ventus Fly Beetle. Fly Beetle is actually a Bakugan we see in a multitude of attributes, but Ventus is the one that makes the most sense. But I don't know, I'm not really a fan of Fly Beetle. We do see him in a couple episodes, so that does put him above Achabi and Clobra. Still, I'm not sure if Clobra's a name, I'm just guessing right now. Next up we have Freezer. Freezer we do see in a multitude of attributes. He doesn't really do much of anything. Freezer's not... He's basically sort of like an octopus that can freeze shit. Other than that, it's not really much of anything. Freezer does appear in a multitude of attributes, so that does save him a little bit. And that's the only redeeming factor. Next up, only appearing in one episode and not even having a decent fight, is Darkest Goblin Ball. He didn't even get a toy version. You could never go anywhere and buy a Darkest Goblin Ball. Still, what even is this Bakugan? It's nothing! It's literally nothing! It's so much nothing that it needs to be put in cancel. It needs to die. Alright, next up we have the first Darkest Bakugan, Darkest Hades. I wonder who he possibly could have been themed after. Oh, I know. Darkest Hydronoid. I mean, just tell me you look at that and you don't see Hydronoid. Like, when he was first introduced, he was actually wearing a Hydronoid sort of skin suit. Then it was burned off. And then it was revealed to be the mechanic Hades. I know they say imitation is the best form of flattery, but this doesn't flatter his ranking. I mean, it's better than a good amount of the Vexo Scum Bakugan, but still not really the best. Next up, we have the antithesis of Ankylosaur. Like I said earlier, we have Hammersaur, which is basically much like Ankylosaur, except he has very big round things on his hands, which, bam, he can use like hammers to destroy things. That's one reason why I like Hammersaur more than I do Ankylosaur, because of the massive damage. And you know what? I think I may just put it right ahead of Hammersaur as well. Ankylosaur! I keep mixing them up! No matter. we're getting into Spectra's Bakugan, Pyrus Helios. This was the original, like, big bad Pyrus Bakugan, who basically coveted the power of the perfect core energy that Drago possessed. And basically, he just wanted to be the ultimate Bakugan. So much that he underwent some intense transformations. But we'll get into that in a minute. For now, Helios was a pretty interesting Bakugan. Like, I can even remember when I was younger, I had pajamas with Helios on it. And you know what? Helios is such a good Bakugan. We gotta put him up in God tier. God tier Helios. Next up, we have his first evolution. Pyrus Cyborg Helios. That's right. He turned his body into a machine to gain ultimate power. And let's just say that ultimate power is ultimately useless. He basically wanted to defeat Dragonoid, have the ultimate power for himself, but yet, he still couldn't even do that. I will say, I do like the design of this Helios, but power-wise, it's kind of inferior to that of the regular Helios, so I'm gonna have to put it at the very end of Worthy Bakugan. You can feel free to be angry with me. But next up, we have the further evolution of Helios, Cyborg Helios MK2, and no, I'm not talking about Mortal Kombat. Changed the shape of his wings, changed the shape of his eye. Basically, it just changed a lot about him, made him much more mechanical and menacing. With powers much better than that of his previous evolution, and you know what? It earns himself a spot at the end of Battle Brawlers. Yay, Helios! I gotta start putting some in some lower or higher positions, because he's about to go off screen. Alright, next up we have Ventus Ingram, Shun's partner Bakugan. Ventus Ingram. I will say, this is one of my favorite Bakugan, but at the same time, didn't really win that many battles. But, I mean, strong nonetheless, but it didn't really win that many battles. It's good, but I think I have to put it down in Worthy Bakugan. Again, these are just my opinions. Feel free to be angry with me. Next up, we have the evolution to Ventus Master Ingram, a much more ninja-styled Bakugan. And for some reason, changed from female to male in terms of Bakugan. I don't know how the evolution works. But Ingram inherited the Ventus energy of the Ventus soldier, Oberus. I will say, it basically is just a better version of Ingram. It's a better blood resistant Bakugan. Sorry if I'm slurring a bit of my words, I'm kind of tired. But next up we have Geldin, which is sort of like a jellyfish kind of land Bakugan? I don't know what the hell this is. But whenever it was in an episode, it never really did much. That's how little it did. It was even in multiple attributes. Still barely did shit. Next up we have the second Darkest Mechanical Bakugan. We have Darkest Max Spider. I don't know why it was called Max Spider. Mainly because it kind of looks like a spider. But still, it had a few pretty interesting abilities. I will say that much. And it's I think this one is in one of my top 5 Bakugan, but you know what? It's at the very end of Worthy Bakugan. Y'all can fight me if you want. Next up, we have the Aquos Mechanical Bakugan, Aquos Macubus, which this is kind of a cheatsy Bakugan, because it can launch probes from its back that is controlled by the brawler's mind through computer bullshit. That's not Bakugan brawling. Plus, I didn't really like this Bakugan. It dishonors the art of battling. You're Vexo scum. Next up, we have the good Helios Bakugan, Helios Nemesis. Originally, Nemesis' brawler Baron never really wanted to battle with Nemesis because he was afraid of losing him in battle, but he just needed to gain his confidence back, and wait, they became an unstoppable team. Nemesis, I will say, he was probably one of my favorite of the good guy Bakugan, but at the same time, not the most powerful of the good guy Bakugan. The original form of Nemesis wasn't really that strong to begin with, so I may want to put him at the very beginning of Vexo Scum. Just below Worthy Bakugan. I'm sorry. Next up we have his evolution after receiving the Helios energy, we have Helios Mega Nemesis, I believe that's his name. Helios Mega Nemesis received the Helios energy from Helios Lars Lion. I think one thing that really saved Nemesis in terms of his evolution is that he's able to switch from Helios to Darkest, trade in light for darkness. I will say that was one really interesting fact in Nemesis that I really enjoyed. So I think I want to put this Nemesis up toward the end of Battle Brawler Resistance. I think that's pretty good. Next up we have Darkest Percival. That just sounds medieval, yo. And he's a good guy, Bakugan too. But I will say I wasn't the biggest fan of Percival, but there have been worse Bakugan, so you know, I'm gonna put him at the very front of worthy Bakugan, like right here. That seems fair to me. Next up we have his evolution, Darkest Midnight Percival. The evolution after being bestowed the darkest energy from the darkest soldier, Ixidra. He evolves and he's able to summon a freaking sword and a shield. Yo, talk about medieval. Man's is a full-on knight. Yo, that was one hefty evolution. Enough to bring him all the way up to God tier. Next up we have a very, very boring sort of Bakugan called Rafflesian. It's literally just some sort of plant that barely does much of anything. And you only ever see him in 2 attributes and barely does shit in either episode. Bye-bye, Rafflesian. Next up we have Virius, which this one does appear in a few attributes, a few episodes, and I think there was one where even a Virius talked. So I think that kind of saved him as opposed to all the other cancelled Bakugan. So Virius, you're up in Vexo Scum. So Virius, you're up in Vexo Scum. You could be better if you did more shit. Next up we have the Subterra baddie Bakugan that belonged to Gus. Subterra Primo Vulcan. I will say, out of all the Vexos Bakugan, this was probably one of the most powerful. And he was already powerful before his evolution. Then he became something else. Yo, this Bakugan was actually able to defeat Drago. I almost want to put it in God tier. Actually, you know what? I am gonna put it in God tier. It defeated Drago. I mean, come on. Next up we have his evolution through unconventional methods, Subterra Rex Vulcan. Evolved, his abilities became so much more powerful. He took on King Xenoheld and nearly won. That just proves how powerful he is. But the fact that we were never able to see him win a battle, that kind of knocks him down. Ah well. Next up we have the good Subterra Bakugan, Subterra Wilda. And I will say it kind of looks like Vulcan in a lot of ways, but at the same time, not as good. It was able to beat Vulcan in one episode with the help of Julie from the first season. Still, the original Wilda was nowhere near one of my favorites. It was nowhere near. I'm just saying, it could have been better. That's even including its evolution, Subterra Magma Wilda. It was just as lackluster as the other Wilda, the previous version. So much so I don't even want to talk about it. It's going in the same realm. It's going in the same realm. Next up we have a mechanical Bakugan that was created to connect with Altair, Ventus Wire. The two of them are able to connect and form Meta Altair, Mecha Altair, Mega Altair. I forget which one it's called. But Wire as a Bakugan really didn't do shit. He was just there as a sort of attachment. So much so that it's cancelled. He didn't do nothing! Next up we have the very adorable Aquos Mechanical. He may have only been in one episode, but that episode was so memorable. Oh, Aquos Mechanical is so adorable. But he barely did jack shit. But I think the adorableness saved him. I'm putting him at the very beginning of Worthy Bakugan. And you know what? I'm going to have to settle on this being my rankings. I've been Floz MG. This has been ranking the new Vestroia Bakugan, and I can't wait to see you all in the next video. Bye!
you ain't your hero. Don't call me a savior. Think I'm out of control, that's just my behavior. I'm bringing the house down, major devastation. You don't gotta worry, cause it don't matter. I'm antisocial.